And now let's transition into the topic of wellness. So the
Yes.
second part of our conversation is dealing with wellness. So what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the word wellness?
Oh, you ask such like simple but actually really difficult questions. But no, that's important. Definitions are important. I think there's so many different definitions of it, but to me, wellness, I identify it as, your physical, mental, and spiritual well-being all aligned. And there's other words people use to describe that. Like at our wellness department, we use the term wholeness because it's easier for people to identify that with something bigger than just wellness. People think that's just like, being healthy or working out or whatever that means to them. But yeah, that's what it means to me. What does it mean to you?
Um, Wellness for me, honestly, it just means being well. Being well, like emotionally, you're well, you're mentally well, you're physically well, you're spiritually well. So all of those things combined, you are okay. You're not, it's not like you're not struggling. You could be struggling with certain things, but at the end of the day, you're well. I think for me means that you're okay, and so you could help someone else as well. You're well enough to help someone else. Maybe maybe that could be.
Wow, that's amazing. That's actually a beautiful. I'm gonna use that now. Well enough to help someone else. That's well enough for me.
Yeah.
If I can help someone else, that's kind of, yeah.
Yeah, because in order
That's
to
a
be in
nice
a position
reminder.
to help someone, you have to be well. So it's like in the airplane, and the hostess shows you how to put on your oxygen mask
Mm.
first before helping someone else, and so you have to be
Yeah.
well first to help someone else. But I'm very interested in your wellness journey, Beti, because you have your own Instagram page, Beti Fitness, which I will link below for anybody interested into doing workouts, but not only workouts, but also you combine like your emotional well-being as well. So it's not just like working out and like physically, but I'm interested into like your personal wellness journey. How was that for you?
Mm. Yeah, so my personal wellness journey, I would say it didn't really start until I got to college, right? Like the whole idea of you don't know what you can handle until you have to handle it. So like when you're in college, it's like you better be well or else you're not gonna survive a semester.
Yep.
So yeah, I guess I was just in the shoes of any college student who's just thinking, I want to get good grades. I want to discover myself or create myself. I want to have meaningful relationships and activities and do all these things and still be healthy. Like, how do I do that? And I think for me, it started with fitness because, that is, I've read like a couple books about habit forming, and they always talk about like exercise is like the keystone habit, is what this one book calls it, called the Power of Habit. It's a really good book. I recommend it to people. And the keystone habit is the habit that basically when you start forming it, everything else changes around it. So like they do research where they ask people to exercise but to not change anything else about their life. So eat the same food, go to sleep at the same time, do everything the same, just exercise. And they find that when people do that, actually they end up changing everything. They end up changing their diet, their sleeping schedule, their stress management, everything changes. So that's kind of how it started for me, was with fitness.
Okay. Um, yeah, that's actually very interesting that you say that, because like me personally, whenever I do my workouts or whenever I exercise, I find myself sleeping well, eating well, and just being active all day. And so going back to wellness, um, for me,
Can I just say one
yeah,
thing too?
yeah,
Because I just remembered this
yeah.
actually. My first week at college, I took a fitness class with you, and you were kind of the person that I think really even like jump started that for me. We had like a what's it called? An insanity cardio workout.
Yes,
That was my first time like working out at college. It was my first week at college, and then you took me running with your friends, and then after that, by the way, I went to that same park and I used to jog like 3 times a week. I never saw you there again.
no, stop going there. Yes.
But anyway, I just wanted to shout you out because yeah, you also played a major role.
Wow, Beti, I had no idea, but I do remember when you first came. So the thing is, okay, now let me talk about my own personal wellness journey. So
Yeah, please
yeah,
do.
so my first year, honestly, first year was a mess for me because it was all experimental and I was doing a lot of things, taking classes I wasn't interested in, being involved in so many clubs on campus. And so that was like an experimental year for me. And I'm very grateful that that year happened because it played such a major role in like the next years of my college life. So my sophomore year, I started going to the gym. And because I've always been like I don't want to say like a fit person, but I've always liked working out, like the exercising.
Moving,
Yeah,
active,
I
yeah.
liked things that kept me moving, dancing, you name it. So I used to go to the gym, but then I found out that when I stopped going to the gym, I gained so much weight in college, and so I was just like, oh my god, okay, so I'm not going to the gym again because when you stop, that was my journey because I used to do like all of the exercises.
The gym is making you gain weight.
Yes,
That's what's happening,
yes, because I
everyone.
stopped
Don't
going
go to
for
the
a while.
gym.
No, no, no. It's because I stopped going. I couldn't.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So I couldn't keep up the consistency, and so so I stopped going, and then I gained a lot of weight, and so that was like a shock for me. And so I was like, I need to find more like aerobic activities or like walking or like something to do with nature, so I don't have to like go to a specific room to work out. And so that's when I shifted into like doing workouts in my room, going for a walk. And then my junior year, I was having a conversation with a friend, and she was also having these weight gains and weight losses. And then we were also in college, and so you're also dealing with stress and like,
Freshman 15
oh my
stress,
god,
yeah.
all of that. It's actually real. And we were having a conversation about like our different experiences with weight. And then she suggested that we do this workout called Insanity. So insanity is insane. That's why it's called insanity. You burn a
It
lot of
is.
calories within just like 30 minutes. And so she was like my gym partner, and we were living in the same dorm, and so it was easier for us to meet up. And so we started meeting up every day before classes at like 7 a.m. and doing the workouts for 30 minutes and then going off for our days. And we did that consistently. I remember fall
Wow.
semester of junior year for like 4 months. And so we saw a
Wow.
significant change, not only in our bodies, but also in our mental health, in our emotional health, like how we dealt with people. We were more patient. And so one other thing that also helped me in my journey was having someone to keep me accountable. So whenever, I feel like, do you relate with that? Like whenever you're like trying to exercise yourself, the person you end up disappointing is only you. But then when there's another person involved, you don't want to disappoint them. So even if you're sleepy, you like struggle to get up, and like it's like a consistency mechanism as well. Do you relate to that?
Yes, oh my gosh, I'm just writing down a little bit because you brought up such good points.
Yeah.
You brought up, okay, so first of all, you brought up this idea of consistency, that like you were going to the gym, but it wasn't a habit yet. It was just more of
Yeah.
like, you okay? Okay. But the idea of building up a habit and a consistent routine instead of just like, going to the gym once in a while because it's there. And then the idea of accountability of having a partner, that's major. I think that anyone that's worked out with someone can relate to that. And I'm also a fitness instructor, so when I'm leading classes, that's a completely different feeling to when I'm working out by myself, because it's like, we're there in a class, we're there as a community, and like you said, obviously I can't just not show
Exactly.
up to class because that's like a disappointment to other people too. But no, absolutely. And this idea of it's like you're making it almost not an option to not work out, right? Like setting yourself up so that it doesn't become like a choice. It's more just part of who you are, part of your routine with your friend. It's you connect it to everything else because it is connected. You said it's connected to how you show up to class, how you talk to other people, and then it slowly becomes connected to you, right? And you're like, okay, I need to move because I need to be me. It helps me be better me.
That's very, very important. And my question to you is, why do you think it's very important for students in college, specifically like international students, to take care of
Mm,
themselves, to do, to do workouts? Like, why
right.
do you think that is very necessary?
Yeah. So we've been talking about like the physical part of wellness, but like you said, like we both said, it's very connected to everything else. And I can think of two reasons why it's so important. One is that, so because it's connected, it affects the person you become when you come out of college. Like it affects the grades you get. I for sure can say that it affects my performance in class, my interactions with others, that affects, the kind of activities you're involved in, and it affects your whole experience in a way that changes your perspective. Like sometimes it gets really easy to get caught up in the daily like stress and grind, like you said, and to just lose the joy and forget that there was a time where you were really excited to be here, and you really wanted to be here. So why aren't you enjoying it? And it's because maybe you're not as well as you want to be. And the other thing I was going to say is that the habits you build when you're in college, when you're at this age, you're okay. So there's this idea of discovering yourself in college, but you're also
I love
creating
that.
yourself, and you're choosing who to become. You're choosing you're building habits that are gonna you're gonna carry them with you in whatever you do afterwards, in the job you get, in the family you start, in the business you build, whatever it is. So this is the only time in your life where you have that freedom to really just decide who you are and then make that happen. Whereas you people in college, by the way, we're so like, we think our lives are so difficult, but we really haven't even seen the full picture yet, right? It's like, oh, I can't work out because classes are stressful. Well, when you become someone with a job, someone who has to pay taxes, who has a family, who whatever your responsibilities may be, it doesn't get any easier. But if you've built it as a consistent habit and as a part of yourself, then it definitely
Yeah,
changes who you
that
become
is
too, I
very,
think.
very powerful because as you said, like life is going to get harder even when, you graduate, and building those
Right.
habits in college when you have the time is actually very critical. For me, I personally find that when I was in college, I used to work out more whenever I was stressed due to like exams or finals. And so when it was, I
Mm,
actually remember like during finals week, I used to work out consistently because for me personally, that helped me. First, it grounded me. And so I had like a regular schedule that I was looking
mm,
forward to. And then, second of all, it gave me the energy to study. Sometimes, like, you're very tired from like
right.
interacting with people because that also takes energy out of you. So you need to
Mm-hmm.
build up those like positive energies inside of you so then you could perform well in school. And
Mm-hmm.
so the times that I would work out the most was when I was the most stressed. So how do you relate stress with wellness?
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Yeah, stress is stress is everywhere, and it's connected. It's definitely connected to everything. Um, Working out, obviously, like you said, is directly related to stress because, speaking more maybe like biologically too, when you stress, that's your body basically getting ready to fight or flight. And when you're stressed about an exam, there isn't really anyone to fight. There isn't anything to run away from. So your body's just kind of sitting there with all these like stress hormones, these corticoids that build up in your blood that like make you super anxious, that can cause weight gain and can cause inflammation, all these things. And when you work out, it's kind of a way for your body to do that, release, to kind of just put those hormones to use, to burn that energy off, burn off some steam, as people like to say. And it's I think, you know literally it is also burning off stress. And then I also just since we've already talked about physical wellness, like let's go back to the whole journaling and mental health thing, because it's also, people can have stress around working out, which
And
is also can be bad, which is when you're working out because you feel like you have to, because you feel like you're gonna gain weight, or you said that was a motive for you at the beginning, or maybe it ended up not being as important. It sounded like you were saying towards when you actually started building a consistent routine. So because it's all connected, I think when you're working on your mental health, when you're journaling, when you're reflecting, you'll find the actual reasons and the actual resources and motivation you need to start engaging in physical fitness in a healthy way, right? Not in a way where you're just doing it because someone's telling you, because you saw it on Instagram, because you think, you have to, or you want to look a certain way. I think that doing that decluttering and that, whatever you do to get some mental clarity is also important, so that you don't build stress around
Yeah.
working out, because we don't want that. You want to work out
Exactly,
to
exactly.
de-stress,
And
right?
I'm so glad you pointed out that some people also struggle with the idea of workouts because that also brings them another type of stress, which you don't want to have. You want to enjoy the types of exercises that you do. Um, and so I think now maybe connecting the two topics that we talked about, how do you see a relation between loss and wellness?
Hmm. So yeah, we did kind of talk about how preparing yourself, making yourself more resilient, um, does prepare you to handle loss. And maybe let me say a little bit more about that, because, I said my father passed away a year ago. If he had passed away 2 years ago, I would have handled it
Wow.
completely differently. I was not in the
Wow.
same mental, physical state. I was not, I definitely wasn't as developed as I was. But, a year ago, so I was a junior, I had like 3 years of college, and during that time I had really invested time in building the habits I wanted. By that point I was working out regularly, I was journaling, I was doing like meditating all the time. I had kind of just built up this almost protective layer of kind of strength, that it is connected. Like, you get physically stronger, but you also get mentally stronger when you start to, challenge your body in ways and realize that you can overcome things. That's a huge thing that working out does, by the way, is just the idea that, oh, I couldn't do this one thing before, but now I can, because I failed and I tried again, and it builds up that idea of resilience and that self-image. But and then another way loss can be related to wellness is it also can feed into your wellness, actually, because especially, we talked about physical, mental, spiritual is also a part I think is super important. I think that everyone needs to have um invest time in their spiritual wellness to
Yes.
handle life. Like, I think it's really important. And so, loss can be a time for you to really get deeper into your spiritual practice, and make those roots more grounded, and remind yourself what those values are that you want to live by, how you want to honor this person or this thing or this experience you lost.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah. Thank you for
connect it
sharing
that
that.
way.
And I'm very happy that you said like the way you dealt with loss when it happened versus like a year ago would have been completely different, which I think,
Mm,
it goes to show the kind of work that you've put into yourself. And, because okay, and honestly, because the way I say that is the reason why I said that is because um, most of us aren't consciously trying to build ourselves up. You know, it takes a lot of conscious effort to find our own weaknesses and to like try to make them better. You read books about self improvement, personal development, but it takes effort to do that, and it takes motivation to recognize that you need to become a better person. And so, by actively doing that, you recognize that you'd have reacted to it differently, which I think is a very, very important point. Um,
yeah, and I would like to point out also, just, it's not obvious. Like, it wasn't obvious to me throughout those 3 years, like, oh my gosh, I'm becoming so much stronger. Like, it took something like that happening for me to realize, oh my gosh, I dealt with this so much better than I would have a year ago, 2 years ago. And I think that's another thing that stops people, is they expect, we live in this like age where we get gratification so fast and so instantly, that you think that if you're going to work on yourself, you should see results in a day, in a week. Like, you should start to become a better you right away. But that really wasn't how it worked for me. I talked about it too on my Instagram, how like when I started meditating, it was so difficult. It didn't feel like growth. It just felt uncomfortable. And if I did grow, it felt very minimal. But it does
yeah,
add up and
yeah.
it
Thank
does
you for
build up. Yeah.
sharing that. So, as we're ending our conversation, this has been such a great conversation, Beti. Thank you so much. Um,
Oh my gosh. it's already ending. It feels like maybe I just talked so much that
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
actually
notice the
really
time
enjoyed
go
this
by.
conversation. But yeah, so
I
what,
loved it.
as a last question, what advice do you have for prospective international students, for current international students who are dealing with the topics of loss and wellness?
Hmm. So I don't like to give advice because it's always like you never know
Yeah,
what
yeah.
someone's going through, and it could not be helpful, but I can
Okay.
say what helped me and what I would do. And I would say to always reflect, to always try to find something deeper and something more you in whatever you do, whether that's working out, mental health, working on, or like getting over loss. All of these things, they can have a purpose and they can be geared towards making you a better person, but making you a better person for something else. So I would say just really take time to do that reflecting and to find the way that you want to serve and give to the world, and kind of use that as motivation for everything else you do, because that will get you through a lot more
Yeah,
than
and
you
I
think you can
couldn't have
handle.
said it better, honestly. If there is anything that I would tell someone else is do the things that work for you. As you said, like these are our own personal
Right.
experiences, and what works for me might not necessarily work for someone else. And we're only sharing the things that has like helped us um, navigate those challenges that we've been faced with. So what helped me was, as I said, was journaling, working out, doing your Zumbas. Beti, your Zumbas are so amazing, honestly. Uh, yeah, and
I
I recently started
appreciate you.
meditation as well, and I actually started it in college because my college professor
Wow.
used to tell me, like, just take 10 minutes out of your day and just lay on your bed and just don't do anything. And I like took that to heart, and I used to do that, especially my senior year, because senior year like brings up another whole like
Mm.
stress, which I'm sure you know. And so
Mm.
yeah, just
Mm-hmm.
find things that work for you, but the way you can find those things is by trying things, right? So be open to trying a lot of things, and so then you can find what works best for you. um, so yeah.
I love that.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for adding that. I
of
didn't
course,
think of
Viti.
that, so
Well,
thank you.
I'm really, really happy that we made time to have this conversation. I hope someone who hears this finds some sort of solace or comfort in the stories that we've shared. Um, just as we're wrapping up, I want to say that if you have any questions or feedbacks that you have about the podcast, please share it with the email address internationallybyruth@gmail.com. LIE, and you could also DM the Instagram page Internationally by Ruth, and also please go follow Beti at Beti Fitness. I will share her page in the description. But yeah, so thank you so much, Beti, for taking the time to talk to me today.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for doing this. I think it's amazing, and I'm so excited to see your
Thank you.
podcast grow, Ruth.
Yeah,
Thank
all
you. I
right.
appreciate you.
Until the next episode with another guest with another title. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.